Number 9. The original Tiger happened because the Roots Group, who built the Sunbeam Alpine, asked Carroll Shelby if he could fit a Ford small block into their tidy two-seater. Shelby, being Shelby, said yes, and suddenly this neat little English tourer was barking like a muscle car. The Mark II is the rare final evolution, built only in 1967, with around 530 or so made, and it upgraded the formula by swapping in Ford's 289 V8. In stock tune, the engine made about 200 horsepower and plenty of torque, which in a car weighing roughly 1,200 kilograms and running a 4-speed manual meant serious pace for something the size of a bathtub. Contemporary tests recorded 0 to 60 in the mid-7-second range and top speed around 122 miles per hour. The Mark II also got subtle visual tweaks like the egg crate grille, wider tires, beefier suspension, and powered by Ford 289 badges, in case anyone was thinking of being cute at the lights. Number 8. Built by the small British company Jensen Motors, the FF was basically a Jensen Interceptor that had gone to engineering boot camp. It came with permanent all-wheel drive and anti-lock brakes in 1966. Under that long bonnet sat a Chrysler Big Block 383 V8, making around 325 horsepower and huge torque, hooked to a 3-speed TorqueFlite automatic. Even though the car was heavy, period test reported 0 to 60 in roughly 8 seconds and a top speed of 130 miles per hour, which was very fast for something with 4 real seats, wood trim, and a gentleman-in-a-suit driving position. Because of how the front drive shafts and steering were laid out, the FF could only be built in right-hand drive, which meant Jensen basically couldn't sell it in the United States. It was also extremely expensive, Aston Martin money, so only about 320 or so were made between 1966 and 1971. Number 7. Built by Bristol CarZ, a tiny British company that started out making fighter planes in World War II, and then decided to hand-build luxury GT cars for people who didn't mind paying Rolls-Royce money to stay invisible, the 409 ran from 1965 to 1967 in very low numbers. Under that long, crisp, very proper body, Bristol ditched its old BMW-derived straight-six and went full colonial with an American V8, a 5.2-liter Chrysler engine making somewhere around 250 gross horsepower and a fat slab of low-end torque. Despite weighing roughly 1.6 tons, the 409 could do 0 to 60 in about 9 seconds and top out around 132 miles per hour, which is not bad for something with leather, walnut, and enough boot space for a long weekend on the continent. Number 6. The 411 arrived in 1969 as the successor to the 410, and it was all about speed. Under that neatly tailored, almost anonymous coupe body sat a Chrysler Big Block V8, 383 cubic inches, breathing through a 4-barrel carb and making well over 300 horsepower in period tune. It was bolted to the bulletproof 3-speed TorqueFlite automatic because Bristol felt real gentlemen do not change their own gears in traffic. Despite being a proper 4-seater with leather, wood, and luggage space for a European road trip, the 411 could sprint from 0 to 60 in roughly 6.5 seconds and push past 143 miles per hour, which made it one of the fastest 4-seat production cars in the world at the time. Production? Tiny. We're talking only a few dozen Series 1 cars, hand-built for clients who were usually interviewed by the factory before being allowed to buy one. A lot of owners liked that nobody knew what it was. The 411 was basically a Q car for aristocrats. Number 5. It was born when British engineer Jim Keeble and designer John Gordon decided in the early 60s that the perfect Grand Tourer would be a mix of Italian style, American muscle, and British stubbornness. The prototype debuted in 1960 with bodywork by Bertoni, styled by a very young Giorgetto Giugiaro, and people loved it. Production finally kicked off in 1964 in the UK as the Gordon Keeble GK1. Now with a fiberglass body instead of expensive Italian steel to keep costs down. Under that sharp, low, 4-headlight body sat a tubular steel chassis and, most importantly, a Chevrolet Corvette small block V8. The 327 cubic inch iron lump making around 300 horsepower. Period tests quoted 0 to 60 in roughly 6 seconds and had a top speed of 145 miles per hour. And this was a proper four-seater you could take across Europe at basically go directly to jail speeds. Production stopped after only 99 cars, thanks to money problems, which is why the GK1 is now one of the coolest, almost forgotten British Super GTs of the 60s. Number 4. AC cars in Britain had already created the Cobra. That angry little V8 roadster Carroll Shelby turned into a racing legend. And they thought, what if we take that same chassis, stretch it a bit so normal humans can sit inside, and then make it gorgeous instead of terrifying? So they shipped a lengthened, coil-spring Cobra 427 frame to Pietro Frua in Turin, and Frua hand-built these stunning steel bodies as either a fastback coupe or a convertible. Under the very long bonnet sat a Ford big block, the 7-liter FE V8, usually quoted at around 345 horsepower and a massive 474 torque. Contemporary tests claimed 0 to 60 in about 6 seconds and top speed around 145 miles per hour, which put it in Ferrari and Aston territory. Except it was easier to service because the engine basically came from a Ford parts bin. Each one was basically hand-built, which also means hand-priced. It was extremely expensive, and AC was a tiny company, so only about 81 were made between 1965 and the early 70s. Number 3. TVR, a small company in Blackpool that specialized in loud fiberglass and very little mercy, introduced the Tuscan V8 after the similar TVR Griffith ended. The plan was mostly aimed at the American market. Take a tiny, lightweight body-on-backbone chassis, keep it brutally simple, and then drop in a 289 Ford Windsor V8, the same kind of small block you'd find in a Shelby Mustang of the era. Output was around 271 horsepower in a car that weighed well under a ton, paired with a 4-speed manual and a limited-slip diff, which meant the Tuscan absolutely ripped. It could sprint to 60 in just 5.5 seconds, and has a top speed of 155 miles per hour, which in the mid-60s put it in supercar company, except this supercar was basically the size of a shoe. TVR built only 73 units, and most were left-hand drive for export, which makes survivors extremely collectible now. Number 2. Styled by William Townes, with sharp, modern lines, the DBS launched in 1967 with a straight 6, but the real thunder arrived in 1969 with the brand-new Tadek Merrick-designed 5.3-liter quad-cam all-alloy V8. Early cars used Bosch fuel injection, later swapped for big Webers. This engine offers around 375 horsepower and a tidal wave of torque. Despite being a proper 4-seat Grand Tourer with Connolly leather, wood, and aircon, the DBS V8 could rip 0 to 60 in just 5.9 seconds and push on to about 160 miles per hour, making it one of the world's quickest 4-seaters at the time. While Bond's 1969 movie car was actually a 6-cylinder DBS, the V8 shape later became 007's on-screen bruiser, cementing its cult status. Number 1. Also known as the Series 200 in the United States, the Griffith 200 is a notable sports car that emerged in the early 1960s. The car's inception is credited to Jack Griffith, who aimed to create a vehicle that could outperform the AC Cobra. The Griffith 200 was built on a modified TVR Grantura chassis featuring a lightweight fiberglass body. The car debuted in 1964 and quickly gained a reputation for its impressive performance and distinctive design. Its small size and lightweight, around 1,900 pounds with the drivetrain, made it a nimble and responsive vehicle. Under the hood, the standard engine was a 289 Ford V8, which produced around 195 horsepower. There was also an optional K-code high-performance engine version, which delivered up to 271 horsepower. The immense power, combined with the car's short wheelbase and lightweight, made it a thrilling but challenging vehicle to handle.